Okay, thank you for attending this webinar. And my name is Takaaki Kagawa from Japan. And last week Ken did a talk on Japanese Drosera and Penguicula, and today I'm going to discuss the rootless carnivorous plants from Japan. So I should tell you guys about a bit about myself. And well, I've authored a couple of carnivorous plant publications like a Drosera guidebook or a CPN article on Japanese carnivorous plants. But I'm not a professional researcher or anything. I'm just an enthusiast. So my first contact with carnivorous plants was at the age of 7 when I encountered a book on carnivorous plants. And I asked my parents and got a Venus flytrap. Well, unfortunately, managed to kill it, but the interest still continued. Then I met an old man in my neighborhood who was really knowledgeable about plants, and we started interacting with each other. And later, I joined other carnivorous plant enthusiasts and became a nerd that I am today. And okay, so before the presentation, I want to thank my friend Dai Ajiri, uh, who is a member of JCPS, the Japanese Carnivorous Plant Society, and the local Carnivorous Plant Society based in Niigata area. He has seen many carnivorous plants in the wild and kindly provided information and images for this presentation. Lots of people coming in. So let's get going. And we have a lot to do in this presentation. So in this talk, we will do an intro about the Japanese islands and then discuss Japanese Aldrovanda and Utricularia. Okay, I'm showing guys a bit about the Japanese islands on the screen. Japan has four main islands: Hokkaido, Honshu, Shikoku, and Kyushu. And there are many smaller islands, such as the Izu Island, Bonin Islands, or Ryukyu Islands. Ryukyu Islands are also known as Okinawa. Japan covers both colder and warmer climates, and plant species from different climate zones often meet each other. So, as far as carnivorous plants are concerned, you will find a mixture of species from both the climates and even hybrids among them. Now, let's talk about Aldrovanda vesiculosa, or the water wheel plant. Aldrovanda vesiculosa is the only surviving species in this group. It is a free-floating aquatic plant with snap traps like those of the famous Venus flytrap. Aldrovanda vesiculosa is found in different parts of the Old World, and the Japanese populations are only reported from Honshu. The first flower record of this species was actually reported by a Japanese botanist, Tomitaro Makino, in 1893. Japanese strains have green plants, unlike some other strains from Europe, Africa, or Australia, which have red coloration in the plants. So here are a couple of photos. And unfortunately, most of the native Japanese habitats of Aldrovanda vesiculosa have been lost, but there is some good news as well. In 2023, a habitat was newly discovered in a place called Ishikawa. And early in 2025, this year, the municipality of Saitama Prefecture announced the re-establishment of the local population that was once considered extinct in the wild. The local volunteers had worked hard on the conservation for decades, and now it's revived. Now let's move on to Utricularia, or Bladderworts of Japan. Utricularia is known for the tiny suction traps to capture microscopic prey and has protrusions that look like leaves but actually not. The taxonomy of Japanese Utricularia has been in a rather chaotic situation. In this talk, we group Japanese Utricularia in a couple of categories to make it less complicated. So we sort the genus into the aquatic group and the terrestrial group. The aquatic group have uh, divided leafy protrusions shaped like a feather, and the terrestrial group have simple undivided leafy protrusions. The aquatic group can be further classified into the monomorphic and dimorphic subgroups. The dimorphic subgroup produce photosynthetic shoots in water and non-photosynthetic shoots in sediments and substrates. Non-photosynthetic shoots help anchor the plant body and usually have more traps than photosynthetic ones. The sorry, monomorphic subgroup have no shoots, especially modified for that purpose. So now we will discuss Aquatic Utricularia of Japan, the monomorphic group. So let's start with Utricularia aurea. This is an annual species in Japan. Well, I don't know the behavior in the in tropical parts of the world, but it's an annual in Japan. And it's a free-floating species and produces yellow flowers, as in the photo. Next is Utricularia dimorphantha. This is only found in parts of Honshu. This species produces chasmogamous or opening flowers above water and cleistogamous or closed flowers underwater. It has few or no traps on the plant and prefers directly getting nutrients from water to digesting prey. It's giving up on carnivory. Another species is from Japan is Utricularia gibber. Utricularia gibber has thread-like stems and yellow flowers, and this species is often found uh, partially buried in the sediments or substrate. There are robust forms in Japan, and some Japanese researchers like to treat them as Utricularia excelata. Some researchers uh, treat it synonymous to gibber. Well, I don't know why they do it, but uh, well, some Japanese researchers like to do it. Okay, Utricularia macrorhiza is a free-floating species, another one, and this is a northern species, boreal species, and it is found in the north of Japan and otherwise in confined areas as an Ice Age relict. The yellow flowers have a spur, well, sharp and curved like this, as in the photo. Utricularia tenuicollis is another free-floating species. It used to be considered as a fertile form of Utricularia australis. This species produces turions which are brown and oblong, like this. There seem to be more some plants that don't seem to float, which are described as form of fixer, but I'm not quite sure if those are a valid taxon. Now, Utricularia japonica used to be considered as a sterile form of Utricularia australis. So in 2025, it was found that this Utricularia is a natural hybrid between Utricularia tenuicollis and mycorrhiza. The name usage is still confused, and some researchers call it Utricularia japonica, and other researchers like to keep the epithet australis. So this is an unresolved taxon, uh, Utricularia shakujiensis, from a pond in Tokyo. The population is lost already, and only herbarium specimens are left. Researchers don't agree on the identity of this Utricularia, and Komiya 2014, for example, says it is Utricularia tenuicollis, and Cardano and Tanaka 2015 claim it is Utricularia macrorhiza. So there's no chance of knowing this, knowing what it is. Next, we will talk about the dimorphic group of Aquatic Utricularia of Japan. Utricularia intermedia is a species with clear shoot dimorphism. The traps are only on the non-photosynthetic shoots growing in the sediments or substrate. Unfortunately, I don't have an image of the non-photosynthetic shoots. And this is another tricky one. Actually, the entire group, the dimorphic group, is kind of tricky. Utricularia minor has been undergoing complicated taxonomy in Japan. There are a few different forms recognized in different environments, and some of those forms are actually not Utricularia minor, apparently, and a lot of specimens seem to be misidentified. So in this photo, the green shoot is the photosynthetic one, and the white one with a lot of traps is a non-photosynthetic shoot. And the white shoot is normally in the sediment or in this or the substrate. So this is a noteworthy form of Utricularia minor called Utricularia minor forma terrestris. Although some researchers don't recognize this form as a taxon. So in the photos are the precipice form, a form growing on a rock actually, and a marshland form growing in a bog. And the precipice form hardly produces non-photosynthetic shoots, while marshland forms do it more readily. Oh, although we don't have the photos of the non-photosynthetic shoots here, but yeah, look how tiny the plants are. So Utricularia multispinosa used to be considered synonymous to Utricularia minor, even though some researchers and enthusiasts had noticed the differences. The plant is larger and more robust than the plant of Utricularia minor. And the flowers are cream colored, and the lower lip curls outwards. A bit difficult to see in the photos, but slightly curled outwards. Now, Utricularia ochroleuca is a natural hybrid between Utricularia intermedia and Utricularia minor. And in Japan, there's a hybrid named Utricularia bentensis, and it's considered as a synonym of uh, Utricularia ochroleuca. And okay, this is another tricky one. Utricularia bremii is another taxon that came under notice in Japan, along with Utricularia multispinosa. It used to be known as the southwestern populations of Japanese Utricularia minor. Utricularia bremii has been suggested as a hybrid, but with the with the parentage not completely revealed. Japanese populations apparently have differences from European ones in growth and fertility. For example, Japanese bremii readily produces non-photosynthetic shoots, unlike European populations. And Japanese strains seem to be fertile, unlike European ones. The European bremii has cropped pollen and well, can't produce seeds, apparently. So this is Utricularia yosezatoi, which is an unresolved taxon. Actually, it's not properly described. And the population is already gone forever. And the illustration shows that the plant has a photosynthetic shoot and non-photosynthetic ones with a lot of traps. And Komiya 1995 treats it as a synonym of Utricularia minor. So now let's move on to Terrestrial Utricularia of Japan. Actually, I don't know how to pronounce the epithet. This is Utricularia bifida, This is a terrestrial perennial species, and what this is one of the most common terrestrial utricularias in Japan, and it's found on wet grounds or in shallow waters. The flowers are, as you can see, yellow, and after flowering, the sepals, I can't enlarge it. The sepals get enlarged and form a spoon shape, as in the photos. Only one photo showing it. And this is a cluster of Utricularia bifida in shallow water. And this is another terrestrial perennial species called Utricularia cerulea. And this one is often found in slightly drier environments compared to other uh, terrestrial species in Japan. So the flowers are somewhere between pink and purple, and in some regions, white flowered mutants have been found as well. So this one is interesting, Utricularia minutissima. And in Japan, it's confined to a part of Honshu. On It's only found on the Pacific side of the island. It was originally described as Utricularia nipponica, and Komiya 1980 revised it as a form of Utricularia minutissima. And we don't have an image of other strains of minutissima today, but when you compare the flowers, the Japanese ones seem to be, the Japanese strains seem to be rather different. And in cultivation, it shows a clear preference for tropical conditions. And when you see the scale, it's rather small and just well, less than 3 centimeters high, not even 2.5, like 1 inch. Okay, this is the last one. Utricularia uliginosa is an annual species unlike other terrestrial species from Japan. The flowers are somewhere between violet and white, and the plants get enlarged when they are completely submerged in water. So this population is actually in a botanical garden, but it's wild. So the botanical garden uh, owns a marshland, and uh, this species grows in it. Okay, so we went through Aldrovanda and Utricularia of Japan, and a new habitat of Aldrovanda was discovered, and conservationists re-established the population of Aldrovanda vesiculosa in Saitama Prefecture. Oops. And taxonomy of Japanese aquatic Utricularia is still complicated, as we just saw, and there are mysteries yet to be solved. And here are my references.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on another International Carnivorous Plant Society's webinar. We like to have one or two a month. Coming up in June, we're going to be talking about expanding North Alabama's bogs. All of our webinars and presentations are free. You can go to our website, carnivorousplants.org, or you can go to our active Facebook page to see the registration links. The International Carnivorous Plant Society is about 1,400 paid members. We are active on YouTube. Every year we have World Carnivorous Plant Day where you can see all of the videos there. We also encourage you to follow us on our very active Facebook page as well as our Facebook forum. And then we have an Instagram. If you'd like to share photos of carnivorous plants that you are growing or that you have seen in the wild, you can send us a message there, and we are likely to repost them and share them. Like I mentioned, the official website is carnivorousplants.org. There you can see lots of different tabs with lots of different information, including growing guides. The ICPS has been around for 52, 53 years, and we have a quarterly newsletter. And once you become a member, you will have access to the last 50 years of newsletters. And if you are not a paid member, you can see a little sneak peek of the content that we have there. We have conservation news, field trip reports. We are also the official place to register carnivorous plant cultivars, so you can see when a cultivar was named and the description of those. And then we also recently have started doing carnivorous plant grants for teachers K through 12. We hold this every August. So the application period is August 1st through August 31st. Teachers have to create a minimum of a 5-slide presentation. And then, so it's about carnivorous plant evolution, carnivorous plant traits, adaptations. It could be about poetry. It could be whatever your curriculum is. And then you will be granted $150 worth of live plants shipped directly to your classroom. More information on that is at carnivorousplants.org. All right. Thank you
Oh,
for that brief commercial. And so you
there's
have a couple of
mhm.
questions. I'll read them to you so the people watching the recording can see what we're talking about. So Ken, who was our presenter last week, asks, do you have any thoughts on why some of the Japanese Utricularia seem to be evolving away from carnivory, especially Utricularia dimorphinata? Is it high nutrient availability? And then he also added, it's endemic to Japan and threatened. Do you know of any ex situ or in situ conservation programs aimed at recovering the species?
Um, well, actually, I have no idea about the reason for well, for this species uh, moving away from carnivory, and yeah, but well, this is a rather large species, and it has to grow very quickly. I think this could be one of the reasons. So it's
You
well,
mentioned you mentioned one other species that had a sort of I can't remember right off the top of my head, but there was another species that sometimes produces carnivorous vegetation and other time it's a facultative kind of it seems to have some kind of semi-facultative
uh,
relationship. I mean, Dimorphantha definitely, as you mentioned,
yeah.
is not super carnivorous, right? Like it's like the Nepenthes ampullaria uh, of Utricularia.
Yeah.
And Japan has sort of a lot of nutrient availability in that there's lots of orography, like there's lots of
Yeah.
mountain building compared with somewhere like Australia that has this massive Utricularia diversity. I don't know. I'm genuinely I don't know. Any crazy hypotheses or anything that you've read or it's
Um,
unusual. Like it's weird for carnivorous plants to evolve away from Drosera, Schisandra, Nepenthes ampullaria, Utricularia, Dimorphantha all seem to be kind of giving up.
well, it could be more reasonable to, well, grow in a nutrient-rich environment and directly absorb nutrients from the water instead of having to, well, digest spray.
Hmm.
And well, these species tend to be large and or well, for example, well, Dimorphansa is one of the largest species in Japan, and well, and there's another species. Well, this is not particularly moving away from carnivory, but Aurea is an annual species in Japan, and well, it also grows quite large, and well, so my guess
Hmm.
is they want to grow big quickly
Hmm. Do you know
to
if it's
reproduce.
widely cultivated? I know in Hokkaido, certainly, I don't know of anybody here that grows it. But I've heard that
Um,
aquarium keepers sometimes keep
yeah,
Dimorphantha. Do you keep, or do you know anybody that has success growing it?
it's kind of popular among aquarists and
Hmm.
well, delta people. Um,
It would be very
but
interesting to
yeah,
have an aquarium with it with high nutrients, an aquarium with very low nutrients, and see if it switches. Like
it must be,
Drosera rotundifolia switches its carnivory depending on light availability
yeah,
and nutrient kind of stuff. It would be cool to see if someone, I don't know, if you're growing it, you should you should do a little experiment and then write about it in the journal. It would be very interesting to
must
see.
must be busy adding liquid fertilizer or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. Anyway,
Yes,
sorry
I
to
do
ask
encourage.
you awful questions, but thank you very much for taking the time to ponder
Yeah.
them.
Oh, and I don't know about the conservation programs so much, but there must be very localized ones around.
I mentioned that the ICPS has a carnivorous plant newsletter that we publish 4 times a year, and you can get access to the last 52 years, 53 years by being a member. And I also wanted to encourage, just like Ken said, it's also on hobbyists and backyard growers reports and trials. So yes, you can absolutely do experiments with fertilizer or high nutrients in the water and then report back. You don't have to be a scientist or a PhD person to publish in our journal. Um, so another question was, you mentioned that you're not a scientist and you're kind of like a hobbyist. Can you talk about what resources you use? Are you reading old books? Are you going to the internet? Are you talking to people in the Japanese society? Like where what are some of your favorite resources that you use?
Well, I use well any sources available to me. And for example, well, I search online like crazy. Well, actually, I'm well kind of good at it, and I talk to people well who are knowledgeable about these things. Or oh, and well, as an amateur, it's sometimes quite tough to get scientific papers because those are uh, only available at institutes or universities and well, some places like that. So I asked my researcher friends for copies.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And if you don't have researcher friends, usually if you can find the author, a lot of times you can email the author and they will send you their own paper.
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for an excellent presentation. And thank you everyone who attended this live. I'm going to stop recording and then I'm going to allow everyone to unmute themselves and share their video if they have a question. And thank you so much. And we hope to see everyone in a few weeks for our next presentation.
It's not a surprise that gardeners, educators, and scientists are fascinated by these unique plants. The International Carnivorous Plant Society, or ICPS, not only love these plants, but welcomes growers just getting started all the way through professional scientists. The ICPS even started an annual World Carnivorous Plant Day to celebrate them. The free online event is held the first Wednesday of May. Take a look around our website and you'll find historic documents about carnivorous plants, growing guides, free educational resources, and more. Have questions? Ask. We don't bite, but our plants do.